framed under the Immigration and Emigrations Act. Right at the outset, I want to agree with the honourable member who preceded me on the question of entry visas. He cited the example of Singapore and countries that want to encourage foreign investments. It's good to have a window such as that without the requirement of visa, or rather to stamp a visa on arrival, so that it will encourage persons who go around and look for places that are useful to invest. 1 month of such a visa is useful. Such business people don't stay for more than a week. So I would encourage a relook at the regulation to allow entry visas on arrival. But today, as we look at all these regulations, what strikes us most is the fact that Sri Lanka is on a red list in many countries. It's on a red list in many countries in the Middle East. Some countries do not even allow transit for passengers coming from Sri Lanka. Others don't permit us to land in those countries due to the poor record we are having in countering the COVID-19 challenge. Now, there are accusations being made across the aisle on how effectively or otherwise the government has been dealing with this issue. It's a fact that we are entering a fourth wave now. The health authorities have repeatedly in the last few days told the country effectively not to hold them responsible for the decisions that are being taken. What are they saying then? They are saying that their advice is not being heeded. We have a task force headed by the army commander, quite inappropriate to deal with a health issue such as this. And they made decisions, we don't know on what grounds. The hospital's situation is pathetic to say the least. You can't hide these in today's world. There are pictures we have seen with our own eyes, the situation that is worsening by the hour. I say by the hour because after coming to the house this morning, we have been informed by text that several of our colleagues have tested positive from both sides. That is an indication, if you like, of what's happening in the rest of the country. And in such a situation, we are relaxing rules with regard to movement. This virus doesn't move by itself. It is carried by humans. So, permitting free movement at a time like this is a sure recipe to have a disaster. When we had 1 or 2 persons tested in April last year, we closed down the country for 2 months, practically. But when near 100 are dying every day, we are removing these restrictions. Now, I have said this several times before. Even these restrictions are not being imposed legally. So there is a huge problem with regard to that. We have said this from April last year. A bill was drafted and given to the government. Because the government wasn't moving, I have even presented it as a private member's bill that was tabled in this House on the 28th of April this year. But the Health Ministry, to which it has been sent, is quiet with regard to that. It's not responding. That provides a mechanism by which these restrictions can be brought into play legally. Now it is all ad hoc. They are called travel restrictions, provincial travel restrictions. There is nothing in the law that provides for any of these to be done. Quarantine law only permits quarantine. Now, how many times should we say this? Parliament has met regularly since August last year, and we are still unable to do that one thing that this House is empowered to do in fighting this issue. I mean, we can talk, we can debate, but we are a legislation-making assembly. That's our primary duty, and we are not doing that. We are not doing that because the government or those who are actually wielding power want to keep that power in their own hands and continue to keep it and exercise it on an ad hoc basis so that they can act according to their whims and fancies. There is no rule of law. From this morning, several issues that have been raised, we know that the Minister for Public Security is unable to answer those questions. All I can say is ask that question officially. I mean, why do we meet here? And questions such as that of persons being abducted, I repeat, abducted by the police, not in uniform, is a very serious issue. It only shows a thorough breakdown of the law and order situation in this country. I don't know why we even have a minister called a public security minister. When senior lecturers, student leaders and others are abducted in broad daylight, when so much, all of that is being filmed by police personnel in civis. Why do they have to come in civis? Why do they have to come in white vans? You are reminding the white van culture. You want to tell the country, remember, we did this earlier, we have brought it back. You want to bring back those memories. You want to instill fear in the people's mind. And that is why you are doing this. But as was raised by the leader of the JVP, Honorable Anurakumar Dissanayake, somebody else will do this tomorrow. And we won't know whether it is the police or someone else. The underworld will do this. There will be abductions for ransom. Not that the Navy is above that. You know very well how they abducted 11 students, young people in Colombo, purely for ransom. And what do we have today? Those persons who were suspected, named suspects, are not being prosecuted. The Honorable Attorney General is not acting independently. He is looking for orders from above and granting all those that the executive wants. How then can abduction such as that go unpunished, go unprosecuted? This is the news that we get every day. So on the one hand, we have this huge problem, a pandemic that is not being addressed by the country, resulting in Sri Lankans being blacklisted. The WHO has given a statement, and Sri Lanka is one of those that has not dealt with this issue properly. And therefore the Delta variant is on the rise. The spread is on the rise. On the other hand, utilizing a pandemic, you are wreaking havoc in the law and order situation in the country. You are terrorizing people. You are trying to get them to kneel down in submission to your whims and fancies. The culture of impunity is at the highest ever since the war ended in this country. And that is today. Because no one knows if a person can be arrested after going for a live TV show outside the studio. MPs can be arrested as we leave the parliament for what we have said here. Of course, you won't say because we made this speech in parliament, it is privilege. But that would be the real reason. That would be the real reason for taking.
Honourable Deputy Speaker, he mentioned my name in the sense as the Public Secretary Minister. Honourable Sumandiran is talking nonsense, statement which has no meaning. I'm just telling you, right? No, that is because you mentioned my name. You mentioned my name, right? Okay. Yeah. No, you criticized me. You criticized me. So you criticized me. You criticized me, and that's why
you have the brass to call my speech nonsense. Who are you? Absolute havoc you are wreaking in the country, and you are the brass neck to stand up here and try to answer me. Sit down, please. You speak when you have to speak. You don't answer when questions are raised. All you can say is raise it officially. I am talking about what you are doing today. How you have set the goons on the attack to arrest university academics, to arrest teachers, to arrest trade union leaders, not in uniform. If the word nonsense is to attach to anything, that is to the Honourable Minister, not to my speech. I am making a point. There is no point of order. Ask him to sit down. So all I am saying is that the teachers today are demonstrating on very justifiable ground. They have come out in protest against the Kotalawala Defence University Bill. And we saw,
2 minutes.
Yes, thank you, sir. And we saw how they were arrested, produced before the magistrate, who enlarged them on bail, and at the gate of the magistrate court, they were bundled into a jeep by this minister's goons and taken to Mullaitivu. What kind of justice is that? Now he walks away, unable to say anything. And therefore, the teachers came out in protest. There is a BC Pereira report. He must be going to now organize my arrest as I leave the parliament. There is a BC Pereira report. The BC Pereira report has recommended how anomalies with regard to teachers and principals' salary is to be resolved. That must be implemented. That is all that the teachers are asking. You don't have to attack them like this. You don't have to arrest them for this. You don't have to arrest trade unionists like this. After all, the SLFP, which is a core, which is a foundation of who the government consists of, is based on trade unions and trade union rights. If trade union rights can't be respected by this government, I don't know what they will respect.
Thank you.
So I'm winding up, sir. Thank you for the opportunity. And I'm saying on both these issues, on COVID-19 challenge that the country faces, you have failed. You have made that situation far worse by how you deal with law and order in the country today. Thank you.